Y'all, I have done this video. I tried to do this video so many times. This is primarily about hospital and nurse ghost stories. But my cat, if you watch this channel, you know my cat Sachi. She was not having it. So this thing is all backwards. And if you want to see the mayhem she caused, stay tuned after the ghost stories because I'll show you what I was dealing with. Well, hello, my spooky friends. I don't even know where this is going to go in the video. I have to chop this up so much. It has been mayhem. But Scully, you moved. Scully and I have some stories we want to tell you. And I hope I can get through this because they are really good and true. Nurse, hospital ghost stories, and then a few others for good measure. Measure. So let's just go in. Okay, this one comes to us from Linda Thomas. My brother called home after he died. I only heard him say my name. Wow. I had a hard time with his death. I saw him a few times in situations when I was close to death. I believe he was protecting his baby sister. He is missed so badly. I was a month away from turning 16. Oh, wow. And I'm 41 now. I still feel like he's watching over me. You know, I wouldn't be a bit surprised, especially when you see him during this time. I guess I have a lot of questions about, when he called. Did like just the phone ring? And the way I am understanding this is that your phone rang and you heard your brother say your name and then nothing else. And I mean, that is crazy. But we've heard a lot of stories about ghosts, spirits, whatever, using the phone after they pass away. It's crazy. But it's something with the electronics. I don't know how they do that. Ghost tricks. But wow. Yeah. I think that is a sweet story just to know that he is still there, even though you were quite young when you felt that loss. And I am so sorry. But I think he just wants you to know he's okay and he's always watching you. Thank you so much, Linda, for sharing that. And Sachi has been giving me a horrible time trying to do this video. All right, let's go on to the ghost stories. Now, this one comes from Chris Pat. When I was a child, my grandmother was in the ICU at St. Vincent's in Portland, suffering from extreme physical pain due to pancreatic cancer. Oh my God, yeah, that's a bad one. Many family members were present, including her two eldest daughters who never got along. While several of us were in the room, the two of them argued about stealing each other's boyfriends from years past. Yeah, when you have two sisters who don't get along, oh my gosh, this is horrible. A look of serenity came over my grandmother's face. She looked at her two daughters, smiled, and said, "You guys stop arguing. It's so beautiful here." Within 2 hours, she passed away. I remember that event as if it happened yesterday, even though I was only 9 at the time. Wow. So she got to spend the last few hours actually seeing into the next realm. I think that is a beautiful story. And hopefully it drowned out some of the arguing between the sisters. I love to hear stories like this. Thank you so much. Our next story is by Frankie Shell. So, working in an ICU, a call bell went off in a room that was empty. Happens all the time. If you're a nurse, you know. Okay, no big deal. Went and turned it off, thinking maybe environmental services had just accidentally turned it on. Then a second time it went off, thinking logically maybe it's malfunctioning or not in the socket correctly, which it was. The third time it went off, I went in and the water was on and the window was open. Someone was wanting me to know, "Hello, I'm here." That room, unfortunately, many ICU patients had died in. So, y'all know how many times this kind of story happens, and we open the windows. It used to be a big thing. You can't always do that anymore. When a spirit passes, if you haven't ever heard this, old nurses, people who live in, areas where you honor these traditions, we all open the windows so the spirit can get out. But I have had that same thing happen, not the window, but going into a room that I know is empty that someone recently passed in, and to turn a light off that wasn't supposed to be on, hadn't been on just a few minutes before. And then when you walk in, the water turns on. Yeah, you absolutely know. It is quite jolting. All right. But for y'all that didn't know, this is pretty normal for the life of a nurse, right? Okay, this one comes from Monty. I'm a housekeeper at a hospital, but once I was walking down the hall and heard Monica right in my ear. I turned around thinking it was the girl I was training, but there was no one in the hall at all. Now, I honestly haven't heard my name called that often in the hospital or, facility that I'm working in, but it does happen. It has happened. And then sometimes, you just kind of brush it off like, nah, I don't know. You make excuses. But do I believe this happened? 100%. Thank you for sharing. So, Monica, be careful when somebody calls your name. Now, this video is going to be chopped up every which way because of some of the events that happened when I started. You'll see that in a minute. But I'm going to go on to a few stories that are not hospital related, but are great ghost stories. And this one comes from Melissa Gerber. My oldest aunt, Lorena, married an American man with Italian parents. His brother's wife, Bobby, would see blood on the moon before someone died. Tragically, she saw blood on the moon right before her own son, Robert, died. Oh my gosh. My aunt saw her deceased mother in law, who was a tiny but strong willed Italian lady, standing at the foot of her bed, just giving her the lecture of her life. What? Why are you talking to me like that? Uncle Minnie had growths in his throat. Since they were benign, they were surgically removed, and all was well. Frank figures that Grandma Giswaldo, did I say that right? Giswaldo was telling her something was wrong with her boy. Now, I really like this story. A couple of things about it. There are a lot of families that have certain things, like for this family, it was blood on the moon. But does your family or anyone you know have these things happen that are absolutely signs or a foreboding premonitions? We've talked about that a lot. For my mom, it's smelling carnations like out of nowhere. The smell of flowers, she calls them funeral flowers. And I think I've said this before, but whenever she smells the flowers, somebody she knows is going to die. So I understand the whole blood on the moon thing. But I really had to crack up at the part where the lady was standing in the room lecturing her and just yelling and giving her what for. I mean, I honestly can see that happening. I have a really, really good friend who's Italian, and I understand the whole dynamics of that. And I can imagine this would happen. Now, me, I feel a little bit differently. I mean, I would be saying, "Don't be coming up in my house all dead and yelling at me." No. But Italian culture is a little bit different. It is a beautiful thing. And I can just imagine how this would play out. I love this story. Thank you for sending it in. Now, kind of on that same note, here is another story. This one is sent in by Melissa Gerber. My youngest aunt, Mary Jane, who I lived with for years, saw her recently deceased grandmother one night and said, "Go away, you're dead," and covered her head again. I can see myself saying that. I'm going to be like, "Get out of here. You're dead. Go on." The words might be a little different, but the thought is exactly the same. She also started seeing a black shadow man with a stovepipe hat who tried to smother her. Oh my God. We know about the Hat Man. This was in 1949 when my mother and my 2.5-year-old sister moved back in with their parents. I think it was attached to Mom, who wasn't real discerning about the company she kept. Well, I hope that changed because I would not want to spend a lifetime waking up seeing dead people in my room and having to tell them to go away. Very interesting story though, especially the stovepipe hat and trying to smother her because in all the stories that we have covered before, um, we see the hat man, but not to that degree, not actually doing something physical that is scary. So that's a first for me. Now, this story is a little different. It's kind of asking for help. It is sent in by Peg 1659. Amen for spreading positivity, not negativity. Thank you. Yes, I've had dreams of my parents that I feel was really just them visiting me. I had moved into a new apartment and was trying to hook up the ice maker to a valve that was on the floor. I was having the most hard time and I finally said, "Help me, Dad." The thing then hooked up smoothly and quickly. As I stood up, I saw that I had been sitting on a penny. I swear it wasn't there before. And I just knew it was from my dad. I think he was there to help you. I've never thought about asking, but then again, I don't have any relatives that were particularly good with that kind of thing. The rest of them are still alive and they're not good with much either. I mean, not for stuff like that. Eh. So at least you got somebody in the afterlife. Hey, it's a win. Okay, I'm going to end this, but don't leave just yet because I am going to show you why this video is so disjointed and what happened when I tried to actually sit down and film. So it's not, I call this my blooper reel. So if you want to see Sachi acting up, just stay tuned. If you want to leave now, please remember to subscribe. Have a great week. I will see you soon. Whatever you do, stay spooky and watch Sachi. Bye bye. And here comes Sachi. Say hello. Say hello. My brother called home after. Now, this one comes. I'm sorry. The cattail. This one comes from Linda Thomas. My brother called home after he died. I only heard him say my name. I had a hard time. She's not going to let me get through this. I had a hard time with his death. I saw. It's Sachi. Let's try this again. My brother called home after he died. I only heard him say my name. I had a hard. You can't show your butt like that. I got to get through this, okay? I've got Sachi. Sachi. Yeah, okay. This one comes to. Why? Only when I start reading. this one This one comes to us from Linda Thomas. My brother called home after he died. I only heard him say my name. I had. I can't. How am I supposed to get through this? How? I can't. I can't do it. This is a serious story.